Welcome, Marcus, to Unleash the Knowledge's podcast, Everyday Extraordinary, where it's my job to push the message that we all have extraordinary capabilities within us that simply need to be channeled and activated. I do this by having amazing conversations with people like yourself who are everyday extraordinary people. So it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
Absolutely. So to kick off before we get into questions, I just want to make it a point that obviously I do interview people that are everyday extraordinary people. Everyday people, walking this earth that are taking their lives and doing something amazing. But you're the true testament to this phrase, this podcast title, and I just want to again show my
Wow.
admiration to you and excited to share your story a bit more to my audience and see if we could get in front of more eyes and into more ears so that it could impact them as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm super pumped to be able to be here. This is going to be fun.
Awesome. All right, let's get going. So to kick off, just to have you say, your story in your own words or how you could describe yourself and what you're doing now, I'd be happy to have you describe a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Marcus Bullock. I'm the CEO and founder of the mobile app Flikshop. We build the technology that helps keeps families connected to their incarcerated loved ones. The genesis of this project that we began to build, this experiment that we began to build several years ago, that has now become this big social impact tool that so many of our communities are using, really started as a result of my own incarceration that happened when I was a 15-year-old kid. And I decided to carjack a man with my best friend in a shopping mall parking lot. My friend and I, we tapped on the window of a man sleeping in his car, demanded that he get out of the car. We jumped in, we pulled off, left him standing there in the parking lot. And that decision as a 15-year-old kid landed me in front of a judge in an adult circuit court, listening to him sentencing me to 8 years in adult maximum security prisons. My mom and my sister, they heard that sentence, and my aunts and uncles and some members from my church and my basketball team. And while they sat in the courtroom boohoo crying, I had no idea of what I was really faced with and what was going to happen as a result of that decision. But that one decision changed my life.
Yeah, and it definitely took a turn in your life for that, but then it obviously has brought about what you're doing today, which is incredible work. So Flick Shop
Thank
is
you.
helping folks that are incarcerated get mail from their loved ones in a very inexpensive way. I'm curious to know, why do you think it's so expensive to send mail into these government prisons and even phone calls? Like, why is that so expensive? Is it regulated, or is it just to make it harder for the families to reach their loved ones?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, it all started as a result of some, profiteering companies that wanted to figure out ways to be able to leverage this captive market
Yeah.
that didn't have the opportunity to be able to go out and access different pricing, options, or they didn't have a different service provider that they can compare a service against one or the other, but also allowing for some of our federal governments and our state and local governments to have the opportunity to also be able to participate in some of the profiting from that happens as a result of some of these companies and their evolutions as they continue to grow inside of these facilities. There were the phone companies that wanted to figure out how to be able to continue to price gouge our families as a result of not having to go anywhere else to couldn't have a cell phone, so you could only use their phone system. And they would hide behind the messaging of protection and security, all of those things that will, contribute to the reasons as to why it would cost $18 for a
Yeah.
15-minute phone call. And the same things when technologies began to evolve and businesses figured out that they could figure out how to manipulate the mail, but with the
Mhm.
tablets and charging exorbitant rates to be able to get messages onto tablets when you and I can send emails back and forth to all day long for free.
Yeah.
But this was a captive market that businesses saw an opportunity to profit in. It's been hidden for many, many years. And we believe that we could build a solution that could scale to the point that allowed our family members to have a more affordable solution. But also it mimics some of the actions that they did in their everyday journey, like posting on Facebook or on Instagram.
Absolutely. I love the tagline that you're the Instagram of the incarcerated, or Instagram for the incarcerated, which is amazing. And to the points you just made, did you receive backlash or obstacles from wardens or prisons as a whole that you were, trying to expedite this process, make it far more inexpensive? Did the phone companies come out and say, "Hey, we're going to take you down. What you're doing is wrong"? Like, or was it actually a supportive effort from them?
What was interesting, I mean, Flikshop has continued to grow and, become more popular, in very, very most recent years, right? But we launched in 2012 when very few people were talking about social justice reform or criminal
Mhm.
justice reform, especially during an era where had just come out of prison, just a few years, several years before that, but going and trying to introduce the technology into one of the most secured environments in the world, right? And they're like, hey, listen, dude, one, you got a felony and you want to actually try to ship something in a prison? Yeah, right, right. So there were tons of barriers along the journey in 2012, 2013, 2014, with me flying around the country, meeting with different department heads and officials, trying to figure out how to help them understand that we wanted to figure out how to democratize communications, and while also supporting their efforts of wanting to increase their reentry efforts inside of their facilities. It was a long journey, but today I'm excited to say that we've connected over 170,000 families in prisons within all 50 states. And that's something I'm really proud of.
That's amazing. And even I think last year or 2019, when you had your TED talk, I think you might have said 140,000. So you've already, there's definitely consistent growth with the company, which is amazing. So again, kudos to you. You're doing some great work. So you talk in the TED talk actually that you struggled to get a job. Obviously, those that were incarcerated, they do have that. They have to check the yes on the felony portion of the application, but then you launch a business and you bootstrap it. You completely, run the whole deal with your own money because you didn't even know about angel investors, which is so interesting. And so how was that process? Did you just really work your butt off and save up money, or did you have, was money coming in from some other way, or were you just really relying on early revenue?
I mean, to be honest, I mean, it wasn't foreign for me to do what we were doing, right? Bootstrapping was a term that I learned much, much later when I learned that this was a fancy way of trying to figure out how to articulate that you were spending your own bread in order to be able to invest back in yourself. People were doing that from the neighborhoods I've been in, whether or not they were like me growing up selling candy in schools as a kid, or whether or not they sold drugs on a corner. Either way, you figured out how to be able to go get your own cash, buy your own first block, chop it up, sell it, and go buy more, chop it up, sell it, and go buy more. And that was the way you grew. I thought that
Mhm.
that was the only way any business, produce revenue, right? I'm like, from GM to GE, all the way to Oracle to Facebook. Like, there was no other way to generate revenue outside of figuring out how to actually build a product, invest in yourself, find one person to buy it, and then find two. And if you find three that are not your family members, now you actually have a product that's what I learned later to be a minimum viable product, or to have reached product market fit. Like, these were new terms that I learned much, much later into the entrepreneurial journey. When I was like, look, we're going to build this technology. I don't know how how we're going to build a mobile app. I'm going to Google how to build a mobile app. I'm going to
Yep.
watch a bunch of YouTube videos, and we're going to reach out to people and hang out where people hang out that build mobile apps and ask them questions. Our curiosity eventually helped us to create what is now become Flikshop.
That's amazing. And I think the last point you made is super huge. Curiosity. It's that effort to either be a lifelong learner or just go seek out the answers, because one way or another, the answers are there, whether they're in books, YouTube, or elsewhere. But okay, I was very interested by that question, so I'm glad I got some clarity. So what's the big next step for Flikshop? What's on the horizon, the roadmap? Where are you looking to take this?
Well, like we said, we're really excited that we've been able to connect so many families with our technology. I mean, we're continuing to learn how to grow a stronger product that allows for them to be able to do it more efficiently. Different, options, alternatives outside of just postcards. Maybe that's the direction we'll, continue to go in. But one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about is trying to figure out how to increase the successful reentry pathway for people that are coming out of prisons. We have this massive goal of helping to bring the recidivism rate down to at least 50%, where that's harboring now it's 76%. And we probably should put a pin there, right? Like, 76% of the people that are coming out of jails and prisons are going right back within 3 years. And
Mhm.
how we figure out ways to be able to increase their successful reentry path is one of the things I'm thinking a lot about, whether it be involving other government agencies, other employers, housing developers. These are some of the people who can help us when we think about building that yellow brick road for some of these people that are coming out of these cells. I'm excited about leveraging our technology to do that. I've seen it been done very well in other market spaces, but this is one of the places that hasn't had that much attention, and I think that we're the ones to be able to bring that to the market.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I think I did read that you're making efforts where you do hire former folks that were incarcerated, correct? That's a focus that you,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Dude, I'm like that dude that's at a job interview that's like, yo, look, I got like a rack of felonies. How many felonies do you have? Like, oh, you don't have none? You might not be the right fit for our company, right? But,
Yeah.
the people that's like, oh, yeah, look, man, look, Marcus, I want to let you know ahead of time. I just came out of jail. I had this. Oh, Bert, perfect. That's because what we've learned, I think that, Jim Collins said it really, really well
Mhm.
in Good to Great when he talked about learning how to find the right people and the best people first, and then you build the bus to figure out where you're going to go. If we
Mhm.
do our job well with bringing in people that we know are going to have an intrinsic value add to the company, mostly because they can feel it passionately with what it
Right.
is that we do, then we know that we can find the direction and the strategy that we can take the bus down as we continue to build this technology.
Absolutely. And that's another good point in terms of the passion. They lived it. They know what it was like, and they know how, and I mean, the quote you have that, really struck me is that getting mail every day is like winning the lottery. It's like the biggest thing you can earn when in prison. It's, getting that connection is remarkable. So that's awesome. I mean, that's really good work. Um,
I mean,
what do
one of the things I also want to piggyback on that is like
Sure.
not only are people that are coming out of prison going to be passionate about the work they're doing at Flikshop, but people who are coming out of prison in general just want to have another shot, right? Nobody want to go back to jail, right? They want to have
Right.
another shot, and they want to be able to figure out ways that they can contribute back to their community, to their family members, the people who have been
Mhm.
there for them all of that time when they were at their lowest, right? So that means they're going to work harder than everyone else. They're going to be way more loyal. They're probably going to be
Mhm.
the employees that's going to stay the longest. They're going to, like all of those things are a massive value add that we're able to benefit from. I learned that out of our first business when we were launching the construction business and we were hiring people that were coming out of sales. It wasn't until later I'm like, well, there's probably some knowledge gaps because we're launching a tech company. So there's some raw skill sets that we're probably going to need to be able to train around. But I'll tell you, the best employees that we've ever had have some of the ones who've had an inmate number at some point in their life.
That's incredible. So, to piggyback on that, or I guess to lead into this next question is, what do you believe is the number one skill young professionals should probably look to master or perfect in today's world?
Yeah, man. You know what I tell it's easy, right? When I can tell you what I tell my son, and that answer may change a year from now, right? But my
Mhm.
10-year-old son is on scratch right now, trying to figure out how to learn how to code, how to write code. Coding is going to be the new math. Those who learn how to create the technologies versus the ones who consume the
Right.
technologies are going to be the new leaders in our future.
Absolutely, it's a good point, and it's so easy today too. There's tons of easy to access technology where you can learn online learning, online education. I'm working on something right now where it's going to help feed into the online education space, but um, definitely an avenue for growth. Um, I'm curious to ask, my brand is heavy with books, self-development, and really, trying to further your knowledge on your own from reading one of these books behind me. Do you have a book specifically or a few books that you might have found yourself rereading or gifting to others that have impacted you? I'm sure Good to Great is one of them.
Yeah, Good to Great was awesome. I really enjoy reading Good to Great. Some of my favorites, right now, again, one of the answers that'll probably change, in a year from now. I love reading as well. One of the ones I probably gift often is 10X by Grant Cardone. I give that one to a lot of
Yeah.
my Flikshop School of Business students, some of my partners on executive leadership, like in executive leadership roles, and then learning how to be able to build some of these businesses for first
Mhm.
time startup founders. I think that's a great book to read. One of my favorites of all time is Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. I love
Mhm.
Outliers. When folks ask me the question, Marcus, why you, right? How are you the unicorn or the anomaly out of the bunch of these people that are coming home from these prison cells? I'm like, you tripping. First of all, I'm not a unicorn, right? Like there's a ton of different, Marcuses that are sitting in those cells right now. And if they had the opportunity the access, the social capital, I promise you, there will be a ton of more success stories. This is one of the reasons why we do what we do at Flikshop. But I think the Outliers, Malcolm did a great job of pointing out the different streams of the reasons as to why Marcus is even successful. So I'm excited. I'm excited to eventually tell that story. And I think that, one of the books, and this is a stretch because I don't read a lot of autobiographies or biographies yet. But one of the ones I thought was really, really cool that I've read recently, it's a classic, was Shoe Dog. I think the
Oh
Phil Knight
yeah.
did a great job, you know what I mean, with telling that Nike story. And it was extremely inspiring. So shout out to thank you, Phil, for giving of yourself to us for so many years.
Absolutely. It's one of my favorite books, actually. And I've read a bit of Outliers and actually 10X Rule too. But yeah, Shoe Dog truly shows the story of the grind of what it takes. And it's unfortunate at the ending what happens with his son. And sometimes there's a detachment between the family and the business and the individual who's running it, which is something I'm trying to perfect to some degree as I go into this entrepreneurial journey myself. You don't want to lose the family aspect, but sometimes the demands of the business, sometimes push you away from that. But
It's
yeah,
the one of
incredible.
the things I think about the most, man. Like
Mm,
seriously, like with two small children, it's one of the things I think about the most.
yeah. No, I bet. Well, it's good that it's on your mind so that you can make right actions move forward to not, not separate that. Um, two last quick questions. Just ran out of time, but I'd love to ask these two last questions. One, let's get that stuff going. Do you have a personal mantra that you follow on a daily basis that might have helped you when you were incarcerated, or maybe something you found after you've left, something maybe from your mother, who definitely seems to be someone who's helped you through the whole process? But
Yep. Jump out the window and build your parachute on the way down.
all right, I love that. That's the truth. That's entrepreneurship, and that's most people taking risks, but you got to take that risk. You got to jump out. That's the hardest part. That's where most people are probably not gonna do so.
Oh,
And
yep. I'm like a professional at
yeah, awesome.
that.
I love it. Well, I mean, it's paying returns already, and it's going to continue to pay returns for you. And last question: what is your definition of extraordinary?
um, Understanding the power of self-awareness and the laws of attraction. I think that if you understand the powers of your own self-awareness and your own emotional intelligence, your own EQ,
Mm,
that I think that you'll allow yourself space to be able to move through the world and be create your own superpowers. Um, I think that also, if you understand the laws of attraction and you know that whatever you say is right, I think that you'll also continue to build on to those superpowers. If I believe that I'm going to be the CEO that's going to build the scalable technologies that will continue to connect the world in interesting ways, especially inside of these disadvantaged communities. And guess what we're doing right now?
mm.
Exactly that. Some of the goals that we have today, come back and check with us when we on a version session 2 of this podcast in a couple of years, and we'll see how it goes.
I definitely will. Well, thank you, Marcus. This was awesome. I appreciate you being on the show. Is there anywhere I could send listeners and viewers that could learn more about yourself, Flikshop, or whatever else you have working?
Yeah, one of the things that we're most proud about in our ability to be able to connect families that suffer from incarceration, understanding that love and empathy is the thing, the change agent that will save so many lives, are our community members who may not know someone that's incarcerated, but also want to help contribute to this
Mhm.
mission of trying to reduce recidivism. And those are, we call Flikshop Angels. Those are the members who can purchase Flikshop credits that we give to children with incarcerated parents and allow those kids to send mom and dad as many selfies as they want completely for free. You can visit us at flikshopangels.com to find out more information about that. And I'm super grateful for our community that has already banded together to help us connect tens of thousands of children all around the country.
That's incredible. Well, thanks again. And that's a whole nother effort that you're doing because, myself included, I don't have a wealth of well, I mean, personally, I don't think I really have met too many people who have been incarcerated for a long period of time. So that's an effort where I can get involved, where I can also, benefit lives and give back in that powerful way. But again,
Such a
Marcus, this was
blessing.
great. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. You do the same.